anything that comes up in your contrasting day, and things do all day, every day. When you know what you don't want, on the other end of it is what you do want. And we're asking you just for a few days, when something happens and you're having a feeling response to it, a negative one, let's say, identify what the feeling is and ask yourself, what's the feeling on the other end of this that I'm really reaching for? If I feel insecure, then it's security I'm looking for. Or if I feel overwhelmed, then it's more ease that I'm looking for. Or if I feel misunderstood, then it's understanding that I'm looking for. And if I feel unloved, then it's love that I'm looking for. And if I feel betrayed, then it's homecoming that I'm looking for. In other words, try to isolate the very root emotion and then sit to meditate. Quiet your mind until the active other end of the stick stops being active, and it will in a short period of time. We're talking about a few minutes. And then, because you have just asked, this feeling that you're reaching for, it will be yours. And when you show yourself that you can shift the way you feel, then you have shown yourself the beginning of vibrations turning to thoughts and thoughts turning to things. Once you do that, and once you steadily do that, so those around you will notice you behaving a little bit like this. Something will happen, it will upend you. Stuff just happens. And then you'll find your bearing. This morning, Esther got a phone call just as she was getting out of the shower that something was wrong with the files that had been sent over and the name tags weren't printing. And that's the last thing Esther wants, is chaos at the registration desk or slow down at the registration desk. And so she had a little kerfluffle and a little panic. And then she said, just give them blank name tags and let them in. What's the big deal? So your name tag doesn't have your name on it. It doesn't really change who you are, does it? And so she was in and out of that in a very short period of time. Don't let anything be big enough that it sets you upside down. And after a little while, you'll discover that the things that do set you upside down have a wonderful gift, because they tell you what you really want. And when you identify it and isolate it and then quiet your mind, it will be there. And from there, you can get anywhere. So here's the further extension of that statement. You often, standing over here in the manifestation, where you're seeing it and hearing it and smelling it and tasting it and touch it, can't get to where you want to go from there. But you can always get to wherever you want to be from here. You can always get there from here. This vibration will turn to thoughts, and these thoughts will turn to other thoughts, and those thoughts will come to impulses, and you're going to get really good at following them. You are. And you know why? Because you're going to prove to yourself that this is how it works. And you know why else? This is our favorite thing to say to you, because you are so tired of the other. You are so tired of the quagmire and the slowdowns and the blockages and the arguments and the discontent and things not going anywhere. You're tired of the complaining, aren't you? Are you tired of the complaining? Haven't you beat the problem to a pulp? Aren't you ready for the solution, for the thrill, for the satisfaction of the solution? Aren't you? Aren't you? Aren't you? Are you? Are you? Are you? Are you? So we were there all morning, and what was it Abraham asked us to do? What do they think we should do? Chill. Not try so hard. Spend less time in the what is and more time in the very early stages of what's becoming. Yes. So what's the takeaway from it? These are the takeaways from the conversation so far that we would like you to take away. We would like you to take away a knowledge that well-being does abound. Just start there. That well-being does abound, and that while you and others may have been distracted from it for a while, it still is the basis of all things. And even while you've been distracted, it didn't go away. You can get back to it. And it's easy to get back to it. Now, by that we mean, can you feel the difference between, you say, I need $100,000 and I need it today, and the way you believe about that? Most of you find a lot of doubt in that. And I want to feel more prosperous, and I think I can do that today. Because you can find the feeling of prosperity easily, while you might not find the full manifestation of all of it. And when you find the feeling of it, it will grow to the full manifestation of it, but you can't jump over here and start with the full manifestation of it. And what happens as you look around the world at others who have the $100,000 is that you don't understand how it came to them. You're just jumping in at the manifested stage. Are you following us just a little bit? So, took a little conversation, but we're talking to all of you at the same time. Can you feel the value of just for a little while sort of taking a step back from the details that are encompassing you, that are sort of distorting your true viewpoint, to just step back from them just for a little bit and give them a rest? Because some of them are serving you and some of them are not. But if you let them all rest, the ones that aren't serving you will become inactive and fall by the wayside. And the ones that are serving you are in your vortex, and your inner being's already keeping them going. You follow? So if your dominant quest is to find harmony with the emotion that feels good, if that's what you're reaching for, if you're looking for the emotion, not the action, if you're looking for the emotion, not the word, then you're starting at a beginning place, and law of attraction will increase the momentum. We know, we don't blame you. You'd rather think a thought that's negative than no thought at all, because there's more momentum in the negative thought than there is in a thought where there's very little attention to it, so it hasn't grown enough. But if you will test it for yourself, if you will start in that place and then experience the increase of the momentum, so that it goes from calm and satisfied and sort of kind of boring but still steady and calm, and you let that then pick up the pace, when you get over here, it's all good. It's all good. And people who are watching you will say, what goes on with you? How is it? It seems like you just get an idea and off and running you go. Seems like nothing ever gets in your way. Seems like everything that you do just turns out so good for you. Seems like you're just happy and satisfied all the time. And your explanation to them would not really be understandable to most of them. But the words that you might say to them are these: what I was doing wasn't working all that well. I was just sort of banging around, sifting and sorting. And so I sort of did a restart every morning, where I just seemed to find the well-being that I was born with. And I held it steady just for a few seconds until it sort of caught on. And then a good feeling came over me. And then clarity started coming into my mind. And I started to receive thoughts. And then you might even say to them, I discovered something that I was shocked to learn. That I am born to be a receiver of thoughts, not a thinker of thoughts. I am born to set my dial so that I can receive the whole of who I am rather than defend it. Because feel the difference between receiving the thought that's already underway and thinking the thought. And you got to know that most of the thoughts you think are knee-jerk responses in reaction to something. That was really good. Did you follow it? So when you are willing to meditate and start in that more centered place, you'll begin to see the world in a different way. And the world then will begin to present itself to you in a different way, so that you'll be one that is driving steadily in the rain down the road rather than one that is spinning around and knocking into everything. You'll be the one who's receiving the good timing, right place, right time. You'll be the one who receives the clear thought. And when you say it, you can see the effect of it. Deliberate creation is so delicious. And creating by default is so random and unsatisfying. So, you feel good. You feel good in that. You start translating vibration into something. Vibration starts turning into a thing. For you, it's turning into the emotion of well-being, or to the emotion of being appreciated. But she doesn't stop there. She just keeps doing it every day till you're solid in it. Every day till you're solid in it. Because that stuff over there doesn't matter, and she knows it. She just keeps tuning into who you really are until you've got a stronger sense of who you really are. And now your point of attraction has shifted. Now all that stuff that you put into the vortex before you came into this body, and even since, now you are in the receiving mode of that. And now thoughts are going to start occurring to you. And as the thoughts start occurring to you, strong enough that you speak them out loud, and you've got a mentor standing right there saying, that's a good one, that's a good one, that's another good one, that's a good one, that's another good one. Now you've got some momentum going, and it doesn't take very much of that. You hear people talking about their mentors in this way. It doesn't take very much of that before you're on your feet and the universe is showing to you how magnificent you really are. And we're talking about 100% of the population. We're not talking about a select few. We're talking about everyone who has an inner being, and that's everyone. And everyone has put things into the vortex, and that's everyone. We're talking about coming into alignment with your own desires. We're talking about step 1, 2, 3. So let's recap just for a moment. So the thoughts begin turning to things, and the first thing that you recognize is an emotion. And if you are wise enough to stay there, and it feels good, so why not? Then it will turn to a stronger emotion and a stronger one. Then thoughts will begin to occur to you. Then rendezvous will begin to happen. Then your life will begin to reflect. Then you will begin to see and hear and smell and taste and touch, because it will have evolved to the point that you can. Because everything naturally must evolve. Everything must evolve. Law of attraction insists that it must. But when what you want is evolving at the same time as the absence of it, then you're left with a confusion. And after all, you are the perceiver of this. You are the receiver of this. There is no reality beyond that which you are perceiving. You sort of kind of get that? It's your perception that we're talking about here. So let's talk for just a little bit. You want to? About the subject of every day, turning thoughts to things. Let's approach it a little differently. So here you are, you're born, splat, right into the contrast, right into the seeing it, hearing it, smelling it, tasting it, and touching it. So you're taking it all in. And even though your vortex has lots in it because you put it there before you even got here in this body, this time, now you're taking it in and you're putting more there. And so you're creating this asking. That's the real goal setting that you do. You're asking. And Source has answered it. And so now you come across someone who just makes you feel better just being around them. They just seem to accept you as you are. Their appreciation of you, unlike most others, doesn't seem to be conditional on anything. They're treating you as your inner being treats you. And now you're focused upon that. You're letting your own connection to your own inner being happen, maybe for the first time. And so what is for you, this baby or this 10-year-old or 20-year-old or whatever who is maybe being touched in this way for the first time, what is the first manifestation that is happening as these thoughts are turning to things? What's the first thing? It's an emotion. The first awareness that any of you are going to have. Now, when you get all the way over here, you can see and hear and smell and taste and touch things. You're sophisticated in your translation of vibration once you're over here in the manifestation. You see what we're getting at? But before you're sophisticated, what happened before you could see and hear and smell and taste and touch? What's going on? You could feel emotion. You could feel the vibration of your inner being versus the vibration of whatever you were focused upon. And since you learned your vibration from the worried people around you, you weren't feeling the resonance of your inner being. So you might have been feeling worry or dependency or fear. But now you're near someone who's holding you every day because you're at school and this is a teacher. She's holding you as her object of attention. She's been over there, but now she's over here and she's tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and she notices you and she likes what she sees. Not because what she sees is so darn good, because you're still a mess, but because she knows who you really are. She knows who you really are, and she sees who you really are, and she doesn't let the old news discourage her from being able to see the new news. So we've enjoyed this more than words can convey. There is so much love here for you. And as always, we remain stubbornly and joyfully in your vortex.